Hello and welcome to a Tech Review Tuesday. This is where I take a piece of tech that's not necessarily connected with FPV, but it can be in this particular case. Now, normally in this position, I'd hold up a box, say what it is, and I'd do an unboxing. This is, I think, a unique case where I've already had to unbox it. And that's because what I'm talking about is this. This is from AFERY, and it is a portable power station. And the words portable here is the reason I'm holding up an empty box, because it weighs 22 kilograms. It's a serious big boy in terms of power stations. I can tell you what you get in the box. You get this manual. You get this bag, I think. I'll take it out and have a look. Something about the app, because this connects to an app. Warranty card. This little container, which contains a power cable for charging with a regular UK plug. Other countries are available. And this solar plug, which has an XT90 connector on it. And the power station itself looks like this, which is quite a workout. Let's go to the floor so I can put this down and show you how it works. Okay, so what I want to do first is show you around what we got, and this is what I thought was the bag. It's actually a cover. It's kind of elasticated down here, so you can cover things up and keep everything safe. Here's the main screen. I've already gone ahead and charged it, so let's turn it on. So, to explain what we've got here in the sort of view on the screen, we're 100% full, time remaining 99 hours, that's like max, but obviously we're not using any power at the moment, so that's kind of infinity. This is the output in watts, which is 0 at the moment, and I'm on 50 hertz because I'm in the UK. On the front panel here, you've got switches to turn things on. This turns on the DC power. So we've then got the 12 volts here and here. And then we've got the sort of cigarette lighter style plug in, your normal 12 volt thing off a car. There, and we've also got an XT60 output there. So you can turn those on and off individually. We've then got the USB connectors. So we've got USB-A 3.0 is here, and then we've got USB-C PD connectors. So these three can go up to 20 watts. That one then can go up to 100 watts. Turn it on like that, and we got the USB symbol here. We've slightly bizarrely got a light on the front here, which is bright. I press it again, it flashes. That's the SOS one, and the next one's just a flash, and then we can turn it off. You're probably wondering where AC is and where the sockets are. I'll go through all of it anyway. In here is where you'd actually plug it in. I lift it up. You see we've got a 3-pin power plug there and an XT90 there. That's generally AC power input and your solar or basically DC power input. There's an overload protection thing where this will pop out if you overload it. If you go around the other side, what we've got in here is 3 UK 3-pin plugs. Obviously I'm in the UK, so I get these 3-pin plugs. If you're in North America, you get your little 2, and Europe's got its own thing as well. And you've got the switch for AC there. If I press that, it's this symbol here for the sine wave has come on. Weirdly, although we're not pulling any power, it's like it's dropped the time remaining down to 75 hours. It's because there is some inefficiencies in converting from DC to AC, and thus that sort of says, oh, we're not doing anything, but we are doing something, weirdly. So you can turn all these off individually again, turn off the AC, back up to 99 hours, turn off the USB, turn off the DC. The only other interesting thing, or vaguely interesting here, because it's not really documented, there is this hatch here, and it wasn't mentioned in the manual. And so I've just gone ahead and stuck the power plug in and the solar plug in, because I thought those are things you need to have around with you. Now, as I mentioned, I went ahead and charged this for the first time in a regular power plug, and this charged up to 1100 watts. That's pretty fast charge. I think the stats are it can do like 1/3 up to like 100% in like a couple of hours, 3 hours or something like that. So it's pretty quick to do that. But one of the things you can do, because charging really fast is wonderfully if you're at home. But if you're out on the road and you've got a leisure battery with an inverter, which might not be able to put out that much power, you can reduce it. And there's a way of doing it with the power thing, but it's kind of where the app comes in. Now, I looked at the app and I thought, it's okay. It seems a little bit unnecessary because it kind of mirrors what you're seeing there. But if I go into it, it's called Bright EMS. That's our unit there. And you will notice as it connects, we should get in here. There it is. So that tells us we're connected. And really, as I said, it's very much a copy of what we've got on the screen there. So you can turn your USB output on, your AC output, your DC output. You can turn the light on and off. The useful thing about it is if I go into settings, and you see I've got a setting called charging setting. If I go into that and say AC charging power, it's defaulted to 1100 watts. Now, in my campervan, my inverter can put out 500 watts, so I might think 300 watts is a safe thing to do. So that's pretty good for the app. Otherwise, I kind of don't really get why it's here, unless you've hidden this thing away underneath something and you can't really see it, then and you can monitor it that way. I suppose it's quite good for. But otherwise, if you've just got it in front of you, not really worth it. Anyway, I thought what we'd do is try and use some power things and see how long it goes for, because I've got a specific use for this, which is to do with my campervan. But let's see how it does on some high power stuff first. Well, welcome to the kitchen. I'm here with the big battery because I want to test out the kettle. However, I just looked at the label for the kettle underneath and it says it takes between 2.5 and 3,000 watts. And this will only put out something like 2,400, but I thought I'll try it because I want to know what happens if it exceeds the wattage. Does it shut off carefully? Does it like resist? Does it not put as much in? So let's turn on the socket and let's see what happens. See if it works or goes wrong or whatever. Let's boil that kettle. Wow, check it out, we've got an output here, 2,400 and something watts. Perhaps it's limiting how much it can give it. I think the question, will it make it all the way? It's already gone down to, it says at this wattage it can do 37 minutes. So this is sort of full power. We can discharge this entire power bank in practically half an hour if we just boil the kettle constantly. I have to say, I didn't know my kettle was this powerful. I imagined it was around 1,000 to 1,500 watts, as most of them are. Clearly, we didn't want to wait that long to boil our kettle. Alright, kettle's pretty much boiling, just waiting for it to turn itself off. And it's gone. Output's dropping way down to 0. That took 6%. 6% of the power bank to boil a kettle, albeit a very power-hungry one. Okay, test number 2, microwave oven. I've connected to this. I think this is like 700 or 800 watts. Find out in a sec. We've got just a bowl of water inside just to heat up. Let's do that for a couple of minutes. And that is... oh, more than I thought. That is, says 1165 watts. So better than the kettle. We can do 83 minutes on at that sort of rate, and so heating up your beans or your whatever in a microwave won't be the worst thing in the world. I'll have to reduce the cooking times in this. We thought it was like 800 watts max. It seems to be like 1100 watts. Well, there you go, microwave oven. Again, very high power, so it wouldn't go for so long, but you don't usually microwave things for 2 hours unless you really want to cremate things. So, high power test number 3 of the air fryer. This is just called like an ActiFry back in the day, before air fryers became a thing for doing chips. So if you're on the move, you want to make some chips, we run this for about half an hour to go from potatoes to chips. I don't know if modern air fryers do it better. According to the label, it does 1400 watts, so I just want to turn it on, see what sort of power we get through and see how long it says it can go for. And according to this, we've got 1260 something watts, so that's good for about 74 minutes. So easily be able to make my meal there and have at least 50% of the power bank left. Now those are pretty high power things, so what if I do something more normal on AC? So this is the battery for my camera that's just run out, which is why I'm filming with my phone. So if I go ahead and plug that in, light comes on, and that is pulling a whopping practically nothing. It says it actually, according to this, it draws 0.7 amps. It doesn't say what it is in watts. Doesn't seem to be much, does it? And it's pretty much going, oh yeah, we got 4 watts. A whopping 4, a 7, it's going up. It's starting to suck the power out now. But as you can see, with that sort of thing, we're looking at like 54 hours on AC. I'll show you what happens if we go into both USB and DC in a moment, once I charge this battery back up. Okay, we got the camera's battery recharged, and we can see that charging something like an iPhone takes only like 12 watts, 70 something hours remaining. Not a problem there. Although we can go up quite high if we use something like a battery charger or a laptop charger to get up to more like 60 watts, let's say. So lots of modern laptops, and this MacBook Pro included, will use a USB-C adapter for charging, and this normally runs at about 60 watts, I think, from one of these. The idea is don't use a plug unless you have to, because if you use it direct from USB or here, it means it doesn't have to do conversion, it's pure DC. So we've got the laptop and the phone charging, you'll see here, 17 hours it says will last, because we are doing about 80 watts ish. So lots of devices you could plug in quite happily and charge away and still have plenty left for later. Well, I'm inside the camper van now. It looks pretty dark because, well, it's nearly 2 o'clock in the UK and it's already getting dark, and the windows are tinted, so I've got some lights on. Now, the reason I wanted to bring you in here is because what I talked about, my primary use for this. Yeah, absolutely. If I didn't want to boil a kettle on a gas hob, or I wanted to use an air fryer in here, then that's one thing. But the other thing I need it for is one of my many medical conditions, because now I'm an old man. And this is a little bag I carry around with me whenever I fly anywhere or go anywhere. It's a right pain. This is called a CPAP machine. I use this because I have sleep apnea. Sleep apnea, if you don't know, is when you're lying down asleep, what happens is your throat somehow blocks your airway. So essentially you stop breathing, but then the brain says, oi, idiot, you stop breathing, wake up. So then you wake up with this big gasp and then go back to sleep and repeat the thing. I'm not conscious of this happening. It's something that before this was happening about 60 times in an hour, if you can believe that, according to what the hospital told me when they did the sleep test. So now I've got this, it's like 5 times an hour, which is within normal limits. So before I had this, my wife and child told me I was very grumpy and tired all the time. Now I've got this, I'm just very grumpy all the time, which is my right as an old man. So yeah, I get to plug this in every night and become Darth Vader.
Luke, I am your father.
Now if I run this and I've got it plugged in, this takes up between 44 watts and 60 something watts, depending on what power it's using. It starts off slow, it ramps up as we get later into the night. Now, although that should get me through the night with my own battery, I do worry, if you can hear that noise, it's of course raining. I do worry that's pushing it a little bit, because just existing in the van, because we'll have the fridge on, we'll have the lights on, and we'll be charging our devices, takes up about 20% of the battery overnight before the sun comes out and the solar heats it up. And if we're using the Starlink, that takes about 50 amps to run. So if we run that for a couple of hours, it's going to dunk down a little bit more. So although it should work, I'm a little bit nervous about that not happening. So when we're out on like single nights, when we're not hooked up or anything, I'm not using it, and that's fine for single nights. But when we're out for like weeks at a time, it's not healthy for me not to use it. So that is one of the reasons that I should be bringing this thing with me. And also because we might fancy doing chips in an air fryer. It's actually quite difficult during the day to exactly measure how long I'd go for, because despite the rain, I'm currently getting 63 watts of solar coming in, which is offsetting the machine completely. So at the moment we're getting it for free, but of course at night time you don't have solar coming in. So I've come back in at night to find out exactly how many watts. I've got one light on and I'm running a machine, and it's around about 100 watts, which is why I'm a bit nervous about running it and using it on my internal battery. However, if I run it here, I'm just holding the end of it so it's not so noisy. If you're wondering how it works, it basically forces air into your throat and stops the throat collapsing, and will increase the air if it detects a collapse. Fun. Takes a little while to get used to, but this is running about 56 to 60 watts, which I expect, and it's like, yeah, no problem. 19 hours with 88% left, so no worries about the main battery suffering any problems. In a camper van, space is definitely a consideration, and you need to think about, like, where will I put this? I've got a fairly generous amount of worktop here, so I can put it there, and at night I could keep it up there, or because what happens is this one slides out and then I've got space underneath the other one that drops down, I could put it under there at night time. But for travelling around when not using it, fortunately we've also got quite a generous garage to use at the back, which I would show you now, but we have to actually park it so close to the house because it just fits on that I can't open the door. But that's where it would live when not being used. And if we wanted to charge it whilst travelling, so for moving, I'd have it on the floor. I've got it plugged in here and it's set to do 300. It's at the moment pulling 150. The output seems to vary. And if you're wondering, like, am I not just going to wreck my battery by charging that whilst I'm going? Not if I'm driving, because the alternator also charges the lithium battery that then supplies this battery. So by the time we get to our destination, along with solar, we're pretty much back up with full batteries everywhere. So it all works out. Now, normally when I film a conclusion, I'd hold up the product so you can all see what it is, but you'll forgive me if I don't do that this time. It brings us on neatly about the size of this unit. It was pretty big and pretty heavy, but this was a 2048 watt hour version. Just to put it in perspective, they go from a much more portable 400 watt hours, which you can happily carry with a carry handle, to a whopping 3840 watt hour version that thankfully comes with its own set of wheels so you can roll it around. So it really depends what you want to do with it. For this particular one, it was very good at like a high power type things, microwave, kettles, air fryers, and it was good for running something with relatively medium sized power, like 60, 70 watts for over a long period, sort of 8 hours or so, and it would still be fine to go. So what you really need to do is decide what you want to do with it, how portable or light you want it to be, depending on your activity. But there should be a size that suits everybody. Now, I've been looking at this purely from a camper van point of view, what I would use it for and where it would come in handy. But I do see these things being used in the home. As a lesser extent, you could use this as a UPS, an uninterruptible power supply. So if you plugged your computer into it and then plugged the unit into the wall, then any sort of power loss or power fluctuations should be handled by the unit itself. That's not so much of an issue in the UK anymore. I don't remember the last time I've had a power cut, but there's plenty of countries you'd expect to be fine, and you get power cuts all the time. If you've ever visited South Africa, you'd know all about that. The other interesting thing that is coming up again and again now is energy storage in the home. There's lots of people, I can see a bunch out here using solar panels. We don't have them in our house because we don't know if we'd get the investment back over the sort of period we're going to be here for. But for people doing it, either the energy they produce goes back into the grid and the grid gives them a little bit of money, or what they can do is store that energy themselves for something. And this is where these sort of things come into it. The one I've got is 2 kilowatt hours, which isn't much, but there's one called the P280, which is very similar specs, but what you can do is chain 5 of them together, and then you've got over 10 kilowatt hours. So the idea being you can charge them through the solar, and with the right sort of equipment and software, you can then decide at some point in the day what's going to power your house, and basically be able to exploit the best tariffs of the electricity prices that's coming in and try and use as much as your own stuff that you've generated. That's a whole different subject which I don't claim to have any sort of expertise on at all. But if you want to check one of these out, there are of course links down below in the description. And right now there are some quite significant discounts on Amazon, and there are extra coupons in there so you can check that out. It's for a limited time. I don't know what that time is. I think it's the run up to Christmas, but I don't know, so check it out if you want to. Anyway, hope the review's been helpful. I will catch you next one. Bye for now. Well, you've made it to the end of the video, so thanks once again for watching. If you like what you saw, then please consider subscribing, and if you really like what you saw, then be sure to check out the link to my blog for a variety of ways in which you can help support this channel.